All right, folks. Rambam, we are doing the laws of shkogos, of bringing an offering when you inadvertently do a sin. Only when you inadvertently, mistakenly, in other words, do something that's a violation of one of the negative commandments, right? Not positive, of negative commandments, you are obliged to bring an offering. The parameters of that is what we're learning. Okay, so let us continue in chapter 3. When witnesses testify that a person violated a transgression that's punishable by a fixed sin offering, but they did not warn him. Instead, they told him, "We saw that you performed forbidden labor on Shabbos, or that you partook of forbidden fat." And he replied, "I know that I did not perform that act." Right? Right. I know that I didn't perform that act. Then he's not liable for a sin offering. The rationale is that since he would be exempt from bringing a sacrifice, he said, "I acted intentionally." When he says, "I did not eat or did not perform," it is as if he said, "I did not eat inadvertently, but rather intentionally." In which instance, he's exempt from bringing a sacrifice and did not contradict the witnesses. So remember, if you did it willfully, you cannot bring an offering, right? So the fact now there's witnesses saying that he did something, but he says, "I know I did not perform that act." Really, what he's saying, I didn't perform it inadvertently. But I did it intentionally. Mm-hmm. In other words, he's aware of it, and therefore he's not contradicting the witnesses, and he doesn't bring an offering as a result, right? If the alleged transgressor remains silent and did not contradict the witnesses, indeed, if a woman told him, "You partook of forbidden fat, or you performed forbidden labor on Shabbos," and he remained silent, he's liable to bring a sin offering. That obligates him. He's silent, so he's admitting, right? In Jewish law, being silent is a form of admittance. Okay? It's not called pleading the fifth, but being silent. If one witness told him, "This is a forbidden fat," and he remained silent, and then partook of it inadvertently, he must bring a sin offering. If he warned him, he's liable for lashes, even though the essence of the testimony depends on one witness. One second. Aha. So usually lashes would be only with two witnesses, right? But since the one witness saying that this is forbidden fat is sufficient and he remained silent, it's almost right. And then he took of it inadvertently. And he was warned, right? So you warn, what does that make it? Does make makes it, it does make it, it's not inadvertent anymore. It's willful. It's willful, right? It's intentional. So then, because we already established it to be forbidden fat, that one witness is sufficient to obligate him in lashes. We've already explained in Hilchos Psulim Mikdashim, number 3, that a person who set aside a sin offering for eating forbidden fat should not bring it for the desecration of Shabbos or partaking of blood, as it says, and he shall bring his sacrifice, a she-goat, for the transgression he committed. A sacrifice must be for the sake of the particular sin. One should not offer one designated for one sin for another. If he offered it, he disqualifies it. So the person ate forbidden fat, right? Inadvertently, mistakenly. Now he put aside an animal. But then he inadvertently on Shabbos, he did something, he lit a fire accidentally, right? Or unaware, thinking, he forgot that it's Shabbos. It's like easy to put on a light on Shabbos, right? You forget, right? That's what something comparable that we could understand. So the fact that you set this aside now, you can't use it for something else, right? And if you did, because sin offering has to be on the particular sin. So now that you put it on it something else, it disqualifies it. Okay? In addition, our sages said that if one set aside if one set aside a sin offering for forbidden fat, and he ate on a previous day, he should not bring it for fat that he eats on the present day. Right? He has to bring a separate one. He can't even bring that one for this. Nevertheless, if he brings it for that purpose, he finds atonement because it's of the same sin. So therefore, he will have atonement, right? As opposed to a different sin.
So is it being said that he can still use it, the offering?
He should
not have used it, but if he does, it's over.
Yeah, some there's commentators that say that that they say that it's not that case, that it would not be okay. Yeah. Okay. Nevertheless, needless to say, if a father sets aside a sin offering and dies, and the son was liable for the same transgression, the son should not bring father's sacrifice for his transgression, as explained there. What's the difference there? They did the same sin, father and son, right? Father set aside an animal, but he died. So what happens with that sin offering? Well, the father died. He doesn't need a sin offering anymore because death is an atonement itself, right? So he doesn't need it anymore, right? He gets atonement through death. So, but the son had the same sin. He for sure can't use it because it's a different person. In the previous one that we just said, it's the same person, did one sin yesterday, and he set aside an animal, and now he did the same sin today. So the same thing. Let me put the two on one, right? Because it's the same person. That we said you shouldn't do, but if it did, it's an atonement, right? But if it's two different people, even though it's father and son, that for sure is no good. Yeah, that's clear?
If that animal set aside, he can't, what is the use of that animal after? That's been set aside for it by the father.
I think it might have to be buried because because there's no benefit from it. Because there's a holiness to the animal itself, because the animal itself is being used as an atonement. So there's a certain holiness to the animal. In some instances, you could redeem it if it had a blemish. But for a sin offering, because it's particular to the person, there's no redemption, right? If it was like a celebratory offering, so that others can celebrate with it, right? A holiday offering. Others can celebrate, so there can be redemption of it. You has to get a blemish, so it's now it doesn't have any capacity to be on the altar, and then you can redeem it. But in this instance, because it's sin offering is for the particular person, right? So there's nothing to redeem for another. So it would have to be buried.
So it would have to be buried.
Can't have any benefit from it.
So they just kill the animal and just bury it.
Yeah.
So it's like
Yeah.
a waste of an animal.
Huh?
Seems like a waste of an animal because this died.
Yeah. Torah is not about, expedience and practicality. It's about a reality. What is, right? What you just said is, yeah, human, that's rationale, right? That's cause and effect, right? Torah is not about cause and effect. Torah is about what is. So what is this animal? This animal has no way to be redeemed because it was only designated for this person's sin, and that person died. So what can you do with it? It has no function now. It's holy, right? It has a holiness that can't be transferred. As I mentioned, other animals that have a holiness to it, it could be transferred because it was not designated for a person. It was designated for a holiday. And in that holiday, others can eat from it, right? But from this, no one can. So there's no functionality left to this animal. That's what it is. You can't have any benefit from it. It's holy, right? That's a reality. That's what is. And that's why the halacha is as such. Follow?
Yeah.
It doesn't like it's a waste. I get that. With the rational mind, it says it's waste. But Torah is not about human rationality. It's about divine. We're going to need a lot because more or less everybody's going to be here. Okay, thank you. It's about a reality. That's what, right? God is. His Torah is. So we have to understand what is when we're learning halacha. What is, right? Am I making sense? Right? That only exists in the Torah. It only exists in God. The human condition, tell what is, what do I have from it? Meaning, what's the consequence of this? That's called consequential, right? So rabbinic law is got that parameter because rabbinic law is taking into consideration the human condition. God's is not a human condition, it's a divine condition. And therefore, what is from a divine perspective? That's a whole different, and you only have that in Torah, right? It can't be anywhere else because it can only be from God. Yeah? You got it? Yeah. It's hard to wrap our minds around that because, again, we're always thinking humanly. We have to learn a lot of Torah in order to start kind of regenerate our brain, literally, that we start seeing it differently, right? And again, it doesn't disqualify that human component because that's called rabbinic law, right? And that's the obligation of the sages, as they have to take into consideration the situation and a situation is a human condition. You have to take that into consideration. And that's part of their responsibility. Like, so, so for example, we learned today in Chumash, what do we learn? You're not allowed to lend a Jew money and take a bite from them to take interest, right? You know what? There's a rabbinic law, and it's not even rabbinic law. I think it was in the 18th century only that it was introduced. The idea of a heter iska, that a way because people were not lending money, right? That was human condition. They needed it for business, and it's not like So what did they do? Made a way that you can lend money that you can get interest. That you can get interest. It's a business partnership set up in a way that's a business partnership, in a way that, partnership you can gain and you can lose in a partnership. But the person who's giving the money only gains. It's set up in such a way. Why the rabbis do that? Torah says because people needed money and they couldn't get sufficiently, so there was this set up in order that at least money should be lent, even if it was interest. Right? So it was set up that way, so at least they would have that. Because if they couldn't get money for their business or whatever, non-Jews weren't giving them, not even an interest, right? So Jews had to do it. So the rabbis came and said, okay, this is a way, right? Because of the situation and many, many other things like that. Okay. Number 4, when a person brings an animal as a sin offering for 2 transgressions, it should be left to pasture until the contracts are disqualifying, but blemish and be sold. Whoa. Okay, when the person dies, it's different. That person can redeem it, right? If it's a sin offering. So in a case when he dies, he can't redeem it. No, there's no one to redeem it. The person can't redeem it. But here, the person made a mistake. He's bringing a sin offering for 2 transgressions. You can only bring it for 1. So then it leaves a left to pasture. Here, a contract is disqualifying blemish. Then he can sell it. Because by selling it, what is he doing? What's he doing?
Redeeming.
But what does it mean, redeeming? The holiness is now on the money, right? And it's okay because it's for him now, that money, right? And therefore, half the proceeds should be used to bring a sin offering for 1 transgression, and half should be a sin offering, a 2nd transgression. So in this instance, it is redeemed. Because why? How come? Why is it being redeemed? Because it could be used for him still. If he died, it can't be used for him, and the sin offering can't be used for someone else. My sin is my sin, your sin is your sin, right? Got the difference?
Yeah.
Similarly, if 2 people bring 1 animal as a sin offering for 2 transgressions, it should be left to pasture and contract disqualifying a blemish and be sold. One should bring his sin offering with half the proceeds, the other should bring a sin offering with the other half. Why? Because I have to bring a sin offering for me. We can't bring it together even though it was the same sin. How come? Why not?
Because each sin is attached to each person.
How come? How come? Because I only sin for myself, I don't sin for you.
Yeah.
A person sins for their own benefit. They don't sin for anybody else's benefit. So therefore, to atone for that, I have to bring my sin offering. I can only bring for me because I did it only for me. You have to bring for yourself. We brought it together. No good. Has to become disqualified. Because why does it have to become disqualified? Because there's an inherent holiness in this animal now. So the inherent holiness has to be lost by being disqualified, but it's still not completely, it's now inherent to it, but its value now becomes holy. So therefore, what do you have to do? Redeem it onto money. Then now it's on the money, the holiness, and now for that money, you split it. You get half, and you bring your offering. Got it?
Yeah.
If you got that, folks, you have a half-decent head. All right. I would love to continue, but we've got work now here, volunteering over here. You're all welcome to help.